Hi, this is Steve McGill, hurdle coach extraordinaire, and I want to talk some today about a concept known as Wu Wei. It's an Eastern concept from Taoism. And Taoism is an Eastern philosophy going way back to the 4th century BC. And the founder of Taoism, Lao Tzu, uh, wrote a series of verses, I guess you could call them, called the Tao Te Ching. And in that book, in those verses, he basically shows or elaborates on his philosophy about how one should live one's life. And his philosophy is such that he feels we should learn to let go and stop trying so hard and learn to go with the flow of nature, because when we're in the flow of nature, everything becomes easier and our effort becomes more efficient. Okay. And so Wu Wei is a concept that I started studying back when I first started coaching, and it was very interesting to me in terms of how it could apply to hurdling, because even though I've always had a curiosity about philosophical questions and whatnot, it's always been on the level of how do we apply the philosophy to the concrete world, and specifically as a hurdler back in the day and a hurdle coach now, how do I apply these philosophies to hurdling? Okay, and so Wu Wei, when I first heard about it, when I first read about it, made a lot of sense to me. A definition of the term would probably be effortless action. That's one that's come up in the stuff that I've read more often than not, and it's one that I feel fits what I want to talk about here: effortless action. Okay. So the concept is that when you let go of conscious thought and let your body just act on its own, you feel like you're doing something without having to consciously think about doing something. Okay, it's kind of like a flow, a fluidity to your movements. And so I want to apply that to hurdling because the Wu Wei concept is one that I try to incorporate into how I coach hurdlers. I never talk about it with my hurdlers, but it's something that I try to incorporate when I'm coaching hurdlers. So a lot of my philosophy, the downhill hurling style, and cycling the legs as opposed to kicking and snapping, all ties into this Wu Wei philosophy, making the action effortless, making the action fluid. Okay, so Taoism is full of paradoxes. So if you understand the nature of paradox, you start to understand the nature of truth in its truest form at a higher level. So if I say, for example, that if you want to make it to the top, you have to reach the bottom. That sounds foolish, right? So if you're trying to get to the top, why would you go in the opposite direction, right? But if you peel away the layer of that superficial interpretation, what do you get? If you haven't known failure, which is the bottom, if you haven't felt awful, if you haven't felt like you're not good enough, if you haven't felt like all your work has proven to be worthless, if you haven't ever felt that way, you'll never get to the top because you're looking for the easy road. So when you face struggles, you won't be able to overcome them because you're not ready to rise above, so to speak. So it's like once you've known the bottom, once you've known failure, once you've known what that feels like, now you're fearless. You know what the bottom is like, so now you're ready to go to the top. Nothing's going to stop you now. So that's a paradox. You have to think about it. You don't want to reach the bottom, but reaching the bottom gives you the motivation and the will and the courage and the mental freedom to rise above. Okay, so Wu Wei is similarly a paradox in that regard. Okay, effortless action is a paradox. That phrase is a paradox. If you're running fast, you're putting forth effort, right? So you're applying force to the track. You're pumping your arms. You're driving your knees up and down. So it's not effortless. So the idea of effortless action comes in the idea that you've trained your body to do this through so many reps over the weeks and months and years that it feels effortless. Mentally, you're not thinking about what you're doing. Physically, your body is so in tune. All the limbs and muscles are so in tune with each other that they just work as one harmonious unit. Effortless action. Okay. So when you look at stuff like that, for example, Steph Curry or Dame Lillard in the NBA, and they'll shoot 35-foot jump shots looking like they're putting in the same amount of energy that they would put into taking a 15-foot jump shot. Like, how do they do that? And that's an example of effortless action. It's not effortless. They put a whole lot of work in, But what are they working at? They were working at making the movement so efficient that it appears effortless and it feels effortless. You see what I'm saying? It appears effortless to the viewer and it feels effortless to the person doing it. If you watch a damn little jump shot, you're not going to see any wasted motions. So we live in a world that says work harder, work harder, work harder, work harder. That's only a partial truth, partial reality. Working harder will not get you to where you want to be if the work you're doing, the work that you're putting in, is actually detrimental to what you're trying to accomplish. Okay, so if my goal as a hurdler is to learn how to cycle my lead leg and not let the lead leg knee lock, then let's say I do 100 hurdles worth of reps in one practice in which I'm letting the knee lock. That's a whole lot of hard work I put in. It's not like I'm being lazy. I am working hard, but all that hard work is ingraining a bad habit. I'm trying to teach myself not to do this, but to do this, right? If I keep doing this in practice, I keep locking the knee in practice, that becomes a habit, that becomes ingrained, okay? So not only is it not helping me, to practice bad habits, but it's actually hurting me. It's moving me, sending me in the other direction of where I'm trying to go. I'm trying to do this, and I'm making myself do that, and I'll never get to where I want to be, okay? So it's sending me to a point where the habit becomes so ingrained, I'll never be able to fix the issue. So if you're working hard but not working smart, then you are hurting yourself more than helping yourself, okay? And so when you're taught how to do the movements that are more efficient, that take less effort, then you start feeling that flow that Taoism talks about, ease of motion. In Taoism, they talk about be as fluid as water going over a rock, which to me is a great analogy for hurdling, okay? Because over hurdles, you're going to be as fluid as water going over a rock. Water does not fight the rock. Water just flows over it. And it creates more energy and more speed as it does in the rapids and whatnot, right? And so when you start feeling that flow, you're like, man, okay, hurdling is not that hard. Getting up and down over these things and keeping it moving is not that hard. And the next thing you know, you can add more speed to it. You're doing some drills. You start adding more speed to the drills. And you're able to do so with less and less fear of your speed, right? When you're kicking your legs out, boom, and you're doing that all the time. When you're kicking your legs out and all that kind of stuff, you're afraid of getting too close to the hurdles all the time, right? But when you're being efficient and cycling and keeping everything in a tight box, then it's like no matter how close you get, you won't get too close. You'll be able to say, I know what I'm doing. I have control of my speed. And that's how you want to feel. So yeah, work hard, but work smart is equally, if not more important. An effective, efficient 4 to 5 minute workout in which you're doing things correctly, you're ingraining good habits, is much more productive than a 2-hour workout in which you're ingraining a lot of things that you don't want to do, ingraining a lot of things that are wrong, that are inefficient. Inefficient is probably a better word than wrong. And so what you want to be able to do is be efficient in your workouts, be efficient in your technique, okay? I always tell my hurdlers, if you can ingrain a good habit and make good progress in ingraining a good habit in, let's say, 5 reps over 5 hurdles, then we can cut it short there. We don't have to do 10 or 15, right? We can save the legs, right? And so efficiency over the course of a long season, over the course of a long workout, as far as that goes, is going to make you a better hurdler, all right? So when I look at different kinds of philosophies, and as an English teacher, and I also got an A in philosophy in my freshman year of college. I've always looked at these kinds of things with a curious eye, and the idea of Wu Wei really speaks to me. If you look at the great hurdlers that we have seen over the years, a lot of them, one of the things you'll notice, if you look at the picture behind me there, Ronaldo Nehemiah, he looks like he's just, if you just saw that picture from the neck up, you'd think he was eating dinner. You'd think he was just chilling on the couch. His face looks so calm and expressionless, right? Because his motions are fluid. His motions are smooth. There's no extraneous effort being put forth. All right, so My message with this video, in looking at the art of hurling as an art form, looking at hurling as an art form, would be that you have to understand the nature of paradox and embrace paradox. Okay, your goal is to work as less hard or least hard as possible. Okay, now that's a paradox. So you're probably thinking, what? I want to work hard if I want to win. But you get what I'm saying, right? You want to work as least hard as possible. So all your effort goes into getting down to that finish line and not getting up and down over those hurdles. You want to be fluid over the hurdles, okay? And so if you have good technique, good work ethic, and all that kind of stuff, but you're trying real hard and you're punching up and you're punching down and all that kind of stuff, you're going to wear yourself out. It only takes, like I said before, it only takes a small mistake to ruin a race. So in a 10 hurdle race, the more effort you're putting in to get over the hurdles, the more chance there is that you're going to make a mistake over hurdles 8, 9, or 10. All right, thank you.